Yes.
Okay.
Ready to roll?
Ready.
All right, I'm sorry. All right, we'll move down now into the agenda, public comment. Is there anyone on Zoom or in the room that has any public comment on anything we're gonna speak to tonight or anything regarding anything with the charter? Seeing none, we'll move right into the discussion items. There's two bullet points that we'd like to speak on tonight. The first one is a review of the bylaws and charter codification. Since our last meeting, and I believe it was one day last week, was it last Thursday?
It was on the 21st.
21st of August, we got a call from the town clerk and the town council to meet briefly to go over some questions they had on our document. Unbeknownst to me, and maybe others knew this, I didn't know this, but they had sent a document out to I guess they call it, and Steve already knows, but a coding type company where they compare the document that we put forth and the documents that we have on file here in town with what the state has and make sure there's no discrepancies. And in the exercise of running through the charter, there were just a couple of questions, but there were enough that they wanted to bring us in. There were more questions as it pertained to bylaws, but that was outside of our scope. So we met probably for the best part of an hour. Most of the discrepancies were typographical. Maybe a word change, a shall versus a may, something along those lines. I think Steve corrected that. I don't know how deep we want to go on that, but, you know, I think in all fairness, probably tell the whole committee, you have them.
We have them, so the committee has
Okay.
them.
But I think what prompted us to go there, I think the whole committee should know, was it was at least thing to me that meeting that for whatever reason, unfortunately, for the most part of our work, and maybe for the last couple of years, a document that was on the town website as our charter was not actually the one that was presently on record at the state. Is
Well,
that correct?
Well, that, yeah. We don't know, and Kelly may say that when she comes here, she doesn't know where they got the charter they used to do the comparison. Because the charter that's the charter, if we took the charter off of the website at the beginning of this process, it is, without looking at it in every fine detail, it is a match to what's on the articles of 2020, when the last charter was approved by the legislature. So it is pretty much in a match. The things that we're dealing with here is the fact that there is a definition and a use difference. There is we need to recap, we missed something to be capitalized in a certain paragraph. And then there was the fact that, again, a definition, correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, there was multi versus multiple. So that's the last item that we have to do. And then the very last one, which I haven't done because it's again, I think it's a typographical, is that there's a definition of bylaws, how it's spelled. And we use it in two different ways within the charter, laws, or bylaw with no hyphen. And the definition, if I'm correct, Steve, is by with no hyphen, right?
That was how we had.
Right. So we need to fix that. And to me, that's a grammatical issue. The issue of the mismatch between what they were using to do the codification review on is a separate issue, in my opinion, away from what we're doing. That Kelly needs to understand where they got their version of the charter to do that. Because I was given a change document by them through Kelly, and I looked at it, not in every little, I and T, but it looks like what is on the website matches the state.
Is it related, how is it related to what we've got here as our current, you're talking about our current charter?
It's all this codification thing, Martha.
Right,
Remember
right.
when Kelly came in the beginning, she talked about there was this effort to have this
Yeah.
company look at the bylaws, look at the charter, and then create this searchable document.
So my question is, when you're talking about a charter, you're talking about the current charter,
Right.
this one.
Right,
And the question, am I right, is this the same as what's on our town website?
yes,
yes, we started from what was on our town website.
But the state was using a current charter that
No.
we don't know where it's from.
No, the state and our charter that's on our website, from my review, appears to be in a match. There was this charter that was used by this company, and it's not clear
Oh,
where
sorry.
they got it from, because they came back with all these, like, for example, they said, it says Town of Plymouth, comma, Mass. On their version, it didn't have Massachusetts. On our version, it did, and on the version that's on the website, that's just an example, it did. So that's for Kelly to deal with, to figure out what they use for the comparison.
Michelle just said that Kelly may drop in very early in the meeting and she might be able to add some light. I was just worried that, there was more to it. As it turns out, there really wasn't anything, but as a committee member, you should know that happened. But go ahead, Mr. Hanlon.
Well,
But you
based
see-
on what you've been talking about for the last.
Oh, Town clerk, just, excuse me, one second, everybody just now arrived, thank you for joining us, we're actually talking about the coding issue, so,
So I have great news for you guys.
well, do you wanna add your question first before she adds great news, you wanna wait?
It's not a question, it's a comment.
All right.
Based on what you just said about spelling errors or whatever, Scrivener's errors, whatever they're called, and this issue with, did they have the right charter, did they have the wrong charter?
You did. You had the right charter.
Well, that's good.
Okay, okay.
I can't imagine you spend an hour talking about all that.
Well, we talked, there was a lot of other things.
Oh, there's other things.
Well,
I don't know if there was other things, you don't think?
No, there
I
wasn't.
think that deserved to be spoken about and make sure we ironed it out.
What's that?
You don't think that we should have spoken about that and got it ironed out, make sure we had the right one?
Just, no,
Just let it
my
go.
knee jerk reaction that it.
we spoke about it because we now know that we had the right document. At that point,
That's important.
at that point, we did not know that the documents matched. And so our discussion included questions about what would happen or what we would need to do in the event that they did not match. So we were planning for a further meeting and details in the event that was necessary. It has turned out, fortunately, that it is not necessary.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm still trying to find out how the vendor had the incorrect charter, because everything that I said, looked at over the last, since I've emailed you, shows that I don't know where they got it, because I wouldn't have emailed them the version that they that they had, and yeah, so price is somewhat averted, but it was good to meet. Part of the other reason why we met during that time too, is there were 10 comments that the vendor had. One was the fact that there's only a certain way you can make amendments to the charter, which we were aware of. Two, that there might be some slight wording changes, which we figured out what that was. Another one was the charter, the definitions for precincts. Originally, it just said precincts, the definition is the area of town divided by groups. And I'm not sure, I'm paraphrasing here because I'm not sure of the exact language. And they recommended that we add for voting purposes, and you guys had already done that, so that was perfect. They made some recommendations. There's 2 parts of the charter that says you need either 100 signatures to get an article placed on the warrant if it's a special town meeting, and 10 if it's an annual town meeting. Like if a citizen's petition, like you need 10 or 100 depending on what the meeting is. And they wanted to add more language that refer to the law, the Mass General Law, that says or 20%, whichever is lower. And we're thinking 20% of the voters here in Plymouth will never be 200, 100, or 10. So we decided to leave that language out. So this was the type of work that this vendor is doing for us. There was precincts, there was, one thing about select board. Sometimes it said selectmen in the charter, and they recommended that you make it more gender neutral for select board, which you guys had already done. So So many of the things that, and that's what I also reviewed with them during that time, so I wanted to make sure that everybody was on the same page. There was something about multi-member body versus multi-member board and committee thing. And, I think you guys made that change based on grammar. And then I think the last thing was something about established policies, and it should be established, process, not established process. So those were the 10 things that they came up. The vendor also looked, just as a side note, the vendor also looked at the bylaws. And we have 170 of those that we need to review. I've got a group of people reviewing those with me to make the decision. So the really good news is, except for those 1 or 2 things that I mentioned, that they questioned or had a recommendation on changing, you guys, based on everything that Michelle and I were able to do today, you guys did work with the original document, so your red line document, as soon as you have it up to date, I highly recommend that you get it on the website, because people have been asking for it.
Sounds good. I just have one quick follow-up question from our meeting. You had emailed the coding company for
Mhm.
anything additional. So you sent the email out to us. The copy I got didn't have any additional red lines. Is that because everything else passed with flying colors? Was there
The
anything?
document that I sent out was redlined that showed what the difference is between what the chart, whatever version charter they were looking at, and the one that was on the state website,
So it wasn't really a red line, it was just showing
the
differences.
differences.
It's not an edit, it's just a comparison.
Oh, then maybe I misread it. It said the following document or the attached document,
Yeah,
any other problems are redlined, and I didn't see any red lines.
right.
So I assumed it
You
was
know,
passed.
it's funny that you say that, Alan, because mine came out as red line, but Michelle's came out blue and red, like hers came out blue, so. Like, I had to literally go and look at Michelle's computer to make sure that we were looking at it the same way.
Mine was the same as.
Mine was just black,
Yeah.
traditional writing.
It was just
Solid
black,
writing, there was no
really,
red
That's
line
the
at all.
third.
but you got it, right, Len?
Well, let's see, 'cause I got it right here.
I was happy, but I don't wanna really mess around, and hopefully it passed.
Let me do something here before I get into it. Let me share my. I just shared the whole damn screen. So this is the document that you sent in that email.
Right. So anything that was in blue is what the differences were.
I didn't perceive this as a red line. This was just showing you the differences in the comparison, so that it's all.
I'm the same as Alan's. I saw neither comments nor the comparison.
Okay, so
Okay.
that's really weird.
So,
It might have been the way you opened up the document, if you didn't look it up under review.
well, you have to look at it, it depends on what platform you're on. On the Mac, you have to go in and under view, turn on tracking. So that'll show what's here on the right-hand side. But when I looked at this, and I looked at the state, and I looked at the version off of the website, it became clear for me, without talking to Kelly, that the document they used came from somewhere,
Yeah, I have no idea. where it
Somewhere.
came from.
you know?
No idea. But the good news, bad news is that was just the charter portion. The bylaws is what they were using, so, and that was the one that was most important. For, at least for this project, for me, was the bylaws, because we have some conflicts with the bylaws, and I'm just trying to get them codified, so they're neat in particular. Okay? Are we good?
Kelly,
Yes.
Kelly, it's Michelle. We also had the one comment on the school committee to change from, to the State Board of Elementary and Secondary Education.
I'm gonna show those, Michelle. I'm gonna show these right now.
Okay.
The charter right now says State Board of Education, and currently Massachusetts doesn't have a State Board of Education. We have a State Board of Elementary and Secondary Education. So it's just, again, mostly grammar.
Which is why, as a practice, we took out all references to state laws, because state laws, bodies change regularly, and we don't want our charter to be out of date every time the state decides it wants to move something from one section to another.
Okay. Any other?
Sounds good, so I think we're good with that. issue.
Thank you for your cooperation. I did a little bit of a panic at first too, but it was good to bring people in and talk and understand exactly what was happening. So that was great. And Michelle, thanks for your help today.
Welcome.
All right.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. I'm gonna
Appreciate
go
it.
sort some more ballots.
All right, well, is there any further questions, or did the town clerk clear everything up? For anyone that's just hearing about that, Martha, go right ahead.
Can I just introduce Kate Brown, who is sitting behind me, and she is filling in for Lyle Lawrence, who is usually here observing
The liaison.
the charter.
Oh, very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I've attended one of your meetings previous to this time, so.
And I'm sorry, Kate, that I didn't let you know about the change in room.
Oh, that's all right.
Oh, you weren't waiting down the other room, were
Everybody's
you?
paying attention to the select board meeting. It's like really
Yes.
well attended.
So to follow up on what Kelly just said, if you look here, if you can see it, I can try to make it a little bit larger.
A lot larger, please, Lynn.
Okay. So you see what says State Board of Education? What Kelly's comment was, is, you know, that changes like the wind. It's now the State Board of what, elementary and.
Elementary,
It's not even, it's the Department of Elementary and Secondary.
secondary
Is that what it is?
education.
It's
So-
not, it's, yeah,
So when Steve suggested,
Jesse.
when Steve's suggestion is we got rid of that and put a kind of a general term called Commonwealth. So that way, if tomorrow they change it, then we don't have to change it. And then the next day, if they change it, we don't have to change it. So that's what we did there.
So are you looking at 240826?
Uh-huh.
And what page is that?
Okay. I'm gonna go down, if you look at the stuff that we got from in our packet, there's a list of those changes on this little change form. I did it that way to make it easier to find it.
So are we using that phrase? Oh, right down here and in B.
Yes, yes, in B, that's correct, Martha.
So you should actually have a strikeout, Len. You have the red, but you don't have the strikeout.
All right, I'll fix that. I won't do it here, but I'll do it.
So that's the only place.
Well, no, that's the first one.
Correct.
Commonwealth remains, right?
Like the Commonwealth.
So
is
we
the
don't
end.
have to refer to Board of Education or
Because it
Department
doesn't
of
exist.
Elementary and,
No, because the problem is if you
Anyway.
do it,
Yeah.
if you did the new one and then tomorrow they change it and then the charter is out of compliance with what it's called. So this way it allows the Commonwealth to do whatever the heck they want, and we just will support whatever the Commonwealth says. And that's basically, I think, that solves that problem. This is one of those cases where you get too specific, it's a never ending battle to keep it up to date. So the next one is on page 14.
Are you guys gonna take votes on each or wrap one vote on at the end?
I think we'll do one at the end.
I think we can do all at one time, the page of requested corrections, we'll do as a whole. Is that all right with the committee?
Yep.
I think that's fine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know what plan it is. I think this thing is possessed.
So you've already made this correction,
So here in
Right.
241, it should be in blue. I made it blue. I don't know why it's not in blue, but that's another story. But this right here, if we go look at what was here, town meeting was not capitalized. So that's the second point on page 14.
okay,
Okay?
all the way to page 36.
So if we go all the way to page 36. If we went back to the definitions, and I'm not gonna drag this all the way back there, you'll see that the definition is multiple, not multi. Hang on. Find this, the easiest way to do it. Okay. So. In 622. I'm not even at the 36, I'm blind and I can't see that the other. Oh, I went too far. I say page 36, yeah.
You did.
Sorry. My bad. I'll give you that, sorry. It page break differently, that thing we put on the front of it is just because of this habit of page
That's
break.
fine.
But we'll fix it. So you see there, multi, in this case, is taken out. And the board, commission and committee was taken out so that it's generic. So it would be multiple member body.
And the reason that we did that, if you look at, my knowledge, make sure I make it easy. In our definitions, and this is an existing definition in our existing current charter. We define multiple member body as any board, commission, committee, subcommittee, et cetera, consisting of multiple persons.
I
So,
remember noticing that and thought, well, guess
So-
what, I'm not gonna follow up on that little detail, but
So,
here it came out.
here it
right?
came up, so we decided, well, we might as well be consistent with our own
Yeah, right.
definitions.
Well,
Go right ahead, Mr. Hamlin.
multiple member on page 4 is hyphenated.
You're not supposed to do that. I'm just kidding.
But on page 36, it's not.
Well, we can fix that. Let's not, what do we
Sure
want
you
to do?
can.
Hyphenated or not?
Well,
hyphenated?
we,
Don't how you,
I don't think it needs a hyphen.
I wouldn't
so
either,
then we would take hyphen out of the definitions.
yeah. Well, that one,
Well, yeah,
and here, I see,
it's twice in that
Yeah.
same definition
right,
H.
I agree with taking it out.
I know.
Definition H. H4.
Thank you.
Larry and Rob are here.
Huh?
Larry and
Um,
Rob are not here.
So what we did here, just to finish up that conversation. On 622, we had put in some new language, and I just took the language. And I didn't strike it and add it, I just basically updated it to match what we had decided, which is multiple member body without a hyphen. Okay? And then the last thing we were told when we met with Kelly and Kate and Sylvia was under definitions. There's the term bylaw. Which is back on page 4. Bylaw, definition A. And if you search, if I could do it now for you, if you want me to, but you have to believe me. That you'll see that it's spelled in 2 different ways, bylaw with a hyphen and bylaw without a hyphen. So the question is, what do we want it to be? And we'll fix it so that it's consistent throughout the document.
Well, since we took it out of H, is there any reason we need it in the word bylaw? No, okay.
I have no
say take-
personal preference.
I recommend we take it out.
We merely kept it that way because it's hyphenated in our current charter. That's so, we
It's
didn't,
hyphenated where?
in the current charter,
Oh, it
It's
is.
consistent?
nothing in our current charter is completely consistent,
Oh,
But-
but we,
but we can.
and we weren't consistent either. in
We
ours,
weren't, no,
okay.
well, because a lot of the times.
Yeah.
We left language that was in the existing
I
charter
agree.
and it didn't do it either. But yeah,
Well, I don't know.
So it's bylaw with no space. Or bylaws with no space, because I think I saw somewhere it said by hyphen laws, so either case, it's gotta be no space, no hyphen. No capitalization. Right, I will do that. So that is the things that came out of that meeting. The reason we're here tonight is to basically approve those changes. And because
It's
we need,
hyphenated in Wikipedia.
And Webster, or Oxford Dictionary, it's hyphenated.
uh-oh,
I don't know
You
what the
can't
right
be-
way is.
Mike, you can't be Larry.
well,
You what?
You can't be Larry.
well, I'm not listening to Wikipedia. I am more concerned about what the OED or Merriam-Webster's does say. So if you're telling me the Oxford English Dictionary hyphenates it,
They hyphenate it.
No, I'm fine with
And their
taking the
examples.
hyphen out. I just was curious.
Mhm.
Sorry, didn't want to confuse.
What does it say?
It's hyphenated in the two examples, both the English and the British, using it as a noun, when they use it in a sentence, it's hyphenated all the time.
And when you look up just bylaw without a hyphen, what do you get?
It's got a dot, which I think that's just syllables. Doesn't have that
I
one.
can't see that.
No,
Yeah, no,
sorry.
no, I understand, it's not, but,
It's a dot, and I don't wanna confuse the argument by saying a dot. But then when they use it in the sentence, it's used, hyphen.
Yeah, but that's, well,
Yeah, I'll take back my motion. I don't
So-
want sticking with the hyphen.
we can leave the hyphen, I think, for bylaw, given that it's both in our existing charter and there is grammatical support to leave it that way.
Right.
I agree.
Whereas multiple member body, that's not a common phrase that would require that it has a standardization of a hyphen anyway.
So we're gonna say that we're gonna have it say by hyphen law or by hyphen laws on all occurrences.
Yes.
Okay.
So with that, I make a motion that the committee accepts the changes as just discussed to comport with the comments made by the code committee that the town referred the charter to.
I'll second that.
Martha seconds it. Any further discussion? I will take a vote at this time. You wanna
Okay.
do roll call?
So, Steve,
Yes.
Alan,
Yes.
Michael,
yeah,
myself, yes, and Martha.
Yes.
Okay, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I was laughing because on page 4 under D, it says unless otherwise provided by law. And I started to put a hyphen in there.
Hey, guys, just to let you know, roll call is not needed. Everyone is live. No members are online.
Good
All right.
point. Thank you, Michelle. I forgot about
Okay.
that. All right, so that takes care of the first line item on the agenda. We're set with the code enforcement, and now we're gonna go and talk about the actual articles that we
The language of the
yeah,
proposed.
review town meeting articles and presentation. Yeah, go ahead, Martha.
I do have a concern, before we talk about the articles. Because, I thought that we had to vote on before our committee has to vote on. I thought it was our proposed charter before we submit articles for the warrant.
Well, that's not,
So,
that
I
crossed
don't
my mind as well. That's
understand
not entirely the case. We can submit,
why we have,
we voted on everything, every substantive thing that we have on the document I turned in, we voted on.
so when you're saying document, are you talking about the one that was the most recent, which was 240807?
I think mine was dated. It would have had a week those date on it. But up until, as long as and it was explained to us by the assistant town manager, as long as everything's still in the draft motion, which it is until I believe tomorrow.
Until FinCom.
Oh, okay, that, if there's any question, we can change things and or vote on it if there's any question. Now, you have a concern on it, so we can do that this evening, we can vote on the language of the articles. But they're in compliance with the town right now, as it says, instead. Mr. Bolton, right ahead.
Just to add, I know Ms. Beltrane's question about voting on the charter.
Is that what people are saying that we
No,
didn't vote on and we should vote on
no, they're saying.
because
no,
town policy
No,
is,
it's the articles.
what's that policy?
No, it's the articles. It's not. the
And so
charter.
we're talking about these,
Correct, because
but we
we
have,
actually aren't presenting a charter to town meeting. What we are doing is we are presenting our recommended changes to the charter. So we don't actually present them with a charter, like saying, here's the charter we're proposing, vote yes or no. we're proposing individualized changes. Which again is why it makes sense to, which is why when they're presented to town meeting, it's not presented as just one thing. Here's the charter, agree or disagree. It's, here are changes that we've made. So for example, the language that showed up in the current draft warrant,
This,
that, as you are looking at, was not something that we did at all. That was
Right,
something
it's
that the
very
assistant town
generic.
manager did. So the process as it has been explained to us is that we make recommendations to the assistant town manager.
these, by recommendations, you mean this,
We recommend the language for the articles, correct?
this? So
Well, yes.
we're not talking about,
No, we're not talking about the document
Okay.
anymore. We're now talking about the articles. We make recommendations for the language of the articles to the assistant town manager. The assistant town manager drafts what the town manager believes to be appropriate, and those are finally determined by the advisory and finance committee.
so that was what we were supposed to vote on?
There's no
These
requirement that
articles?
there's no requirement that we vote on anything. What the requirement of the select board is that all articles, the substance of the articles be approved by the committee. Not necessarily the language that goes forward in terms of describing it, but the substance of the articles. Which in this case is the substance of the proposed changes, all of which this committee has voted. We voted on every line in that document.
So that is the vote.
That is
Those votes are considered
to be the votes of the committee on the
in that,
articles.
I'm looking for, I've got a note here someplace that says what the select board regulation is. I thought I had it anyway. Now I can't find it.
Blue Valley.
SB 10 or 4. I can't find it. I guess I didn't bring it with me. So,
But that said,
so our votes are separate, all the votes that we took. Those are our votes.
those are our votes. The committee has voted, yes. Now, that said, there's nothing wrong with saying if people are uncomfortable, as one member who is not present here tonight has said he wanted us as a committee to vote on the recommended language that we are putting forth. And again, we can vote on the recommended language, and I have no objection to that,
The
Well,
recommended
what
language
difference
of the articles.
Oh,
Yeah.
this here.
Correct. That said, however, we can recommend whatever we want. And both the assistant town manager and the advisory and finance committee can change it.
Change it the way they like it.
So we will be voting on our recommendations, but we're not voting on article language because we don't make that final determination.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Hammond?
So, maybe you can clarify something, or I'm confused because the warrant is the selectmen's warrant, not the finance committee's warrant. So wouldn't it be up to the selectmen to approve this language before it goes to the finance committee or the town meeting or anything?
Because the advisory and finance committee presents the articles to town meeting. Again, we're now talking about the difference between the article and the language describing the article. So in this instance, the article, the substance of the article is the recommended changes by this committee to town meeting. The select board will agree or disagree in terms of presenting whether those articles go forward to town meeting. Again, assuming, of course, that it's not a citizen's petition where they no longer have that, right? Under our charter, but in terms of the language describing that article to town meeting, all of the articles are presented to town meeting via the advisory and finance committee. So they actually have the final say in terms of how they describe the article to town meeting. So again,
Because it's their motion.
right, it is their motion, so.
They're the people get up before town meeting, sorry.
They say that, so the chair hereby moves that town meeting do this, and this. That is their description. Now, they may accept or not accept our recommendation in terms of description, but it is their determination.
All right.
But that said, because Mr. Hutchinson had concerns about that, we said, fine, if we wish to vote on the draft language, our proposed language, we can certainly do that.
With that being said, as an exercise, do you, Martha, would you be comfortable if we went through this first article and voted, the five of us
You
voted on it?
mean Article 19 charter amendment, this right
Article,
here?
well, it'll be 19, right?
Well, again,
I don't know how much made it on there.
none of it, so Martha, this is their draft, this is, again, this was simply, and I'm gonna call this essentially almost a placeholder. It was
Because I
the-
think this is my husband got from,
it's
as
the
a town
website.
meeting member.
This is yeah, exactly, but it's still a draft, the final article has not come out. They sent out a draft warrant, but that's what it is still a draft warrant.
But Martha's right, everybody's probably already seen it, but we have assigned to us Article 19 through 29, is that correct?
Right.
That is correct.
All right, so we can, from now on, call them that, or we can go 1 through 11, how we have been in our process,
Oh,
whatever's
well,
convenient.
I mean, I'm not,
I just simply prepared it because when we drafted it, I didn't know what our numbers.
We didn't have our
are.
numbers,
So
exactly
we
right.
we
No,
now
that-
have,
No fault of yours, I think it's, I just didn't want to confuse anyone. Do we want
but they
to?
could change probably, right? These numbers.
The numbers, yeah, these numbers actually are not correct.
I think to simplify this, I don't think we should be focusing on what was delivered. I think this was the document that this document is in our package. Is this yours? Is this some?
those are my.
Okay,
So that's
So-
something else. I haven't
so
talked about that.
that's what is coming out of the committee. What happens to it after coming out of the committee is really out of our control. Right?
Well, I'm just talking about this.
I understand that. That's what I'm saying is,
So,
we should not be trying to vote on that because we didn't create that. Somebody else created that. We should vote and
and
say,
I'm not recommending that either, to
Right.
answer your
Okay, so
question.
I wasn't sure if you were comfortable or not
Right, right.
comfortable.
Can I see that, Mark?
Yeah.
I've been comfortable with the explanation, both from the town,
Right.
assistant town manager,
but for just clarity's sake, I think
Yeah.
this is what came out of our committee.
right?
This is what we should say as a committee, we approve this to be forwarded to the appropriate person to do whatever they're gonna do with it, because we have no control of that. That's not our document. We didn't create that. If it's exactly what this document that came out of committee, then that so be it. But we don't have any control over that. The numbering of it, the verbiage of it, if they change one little thing, that's their prerogative. We don't have any,
So now do we want to talk about this then?
Correct, yes.
All right.
so this is the thing that basically was in our packet.
It was?
Yes,
It's in our packet tonight, yes.
Michelle put it in our packet this evening.
right. It looks like this.
On your folder. Is it in
I've
there?
got one.
Okay, that's right.
it, but
I think that's what we
Check
should
the
do.
one in your
okay.
folder, make
Yeah,
sure
right
it's the
there.
same one you have, and it
Right.
probably
All right.
is. but-
It is.
Okay.
Good.
All right, so do we want to concentrate and run through these, make sure everybody's happy with,
First of all, I don't remember. And so refresh my mind for it, that's why I was wondering if we would have the minutes. Did we as a committee ask a group of people or Steve to write this, or how did this come to be?
We needed to submit something.
So,
yeah, no, I asked,
so our committee never said, oh, we want to have something like this. That's what I don't remember.
We were down to the wire that we had to submit the articles. I believe Al and Steve came to the decision and Steve took on the responsibility to write the language of the articles.
So was this before you
And
met?
we've had it,
This was always intended to be a draft to be presented, but yes, it was always intended to be discussed with the committee.
yeah, there's no problem.
So it is a draft.
But prior
Correct,
to the
because we-
closing of
yeah.
August 9th, and I did what you did, I pulled up the selectmen's procedures. It called for a brief description. A couple days before I read that. Now, we weren't having a meeting, but discussing it with Steve volunteered to put an explanation of each of the 11 articles, which is what appears here. I don't think the assistant town manager has added or subtracted to this, to your knowledge, did he?
No, the assistant town manager at this point has just put on,
So he's moved it to that, okay, right.
he's just put this sort of very generic statement
Okay.
for each of these, just to say, will you accept the changes in
It's
this,
a
in this?
placeholder, like you
And
said.
that's, and treating it like a placeholder with the expectation that we would
But
submit.
Brian, but he explained to me, and maybe, Steve and Len were in the room as well, but as long as everything's still a draft, which it is, if we want to, we can go back and look at
So it
these.
was for the meeting when the articles, who was at the or you, why did you have a meeting? Or was
No,
it
no, no,
just?
no.
It was not a meeting. When?
Wait, wait a minute, we're confusing, sorry, I'm gonna stop here, we're confusing things. The meeting we had with Silvio and, Kate,
Kate.
and had nothing to do with the
That was the
article.
code. That was the code
Well, it
enforcement.
had nothing to do with the articles, it just was a side conversation.
But he had expressed during that time that we can still submit further requested
mean
language. Silvio, yes.
The submitting of the
Um,
articles was simply, I went in on a Friday prior to the deadline, brought him a hard copy of all the work we did in the charter. This, summary and breakdown of the individual
Okay, so
articles.
that was for Silvio
That was
when
turned
we
him in.
submitted
He
and,
read them
and
quickly.
actually got this.
Yeah,
Correct.
he got
So-
it.
So he read this?
Whether he read it or not, we don't know.
No, I'm sure he did. He
But he
very,
certainly did not put it into anything formal at this point.
and to the
Okay.
committee and Steve
But
and
he asked
Glenn's,
for it.
credit,
Yes.
he did send me an email saying everything that we submitted to him saves him a ton of work, cause it was in great order. He had no problem with our submittal.
Okay, so now our committee's gonna look at it, right?
Yes.
Right.
We can look at it now
And as Steve knows, I already made some suggestions.
That's fine, we can talk about.
And that's,
Absolutely.
this is the time to do it, cause we have time.
So why don't we talk about your suggestion?
Okay,
But let's go,
or however you want.
let's go one at a time just to
Yep.
make sure.
Just go
So,
through, yeah, we'll get them out of the way.
so the article, what was marked as Article 1, which would now become Article 19.
That's
So do we need to change that?
He will change that. But we'll change that in the language, but yes.
So my other question is, before we go one by one, who's gonna be reading this? What is this for? What's Silvio gonna do with it? Or-
This will be the final language of the submission to town meeting, and this will be,
It'll go in the packet.
well, again, this is our recommendation to Silvio. Silvio will then take our recommendation and do with it again as he believes appropriate, put it forth so that that goes to advisory and finance committee, which will then make
With
its final, right, and which will then make its final statement as to how
And
it,
this,
yes, well, that,
Okay.
yes, and it will make its final statement as to how it wishes to describe the proposed changes to town meeting.
okay,
And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, this would be on the colored piece of paper in the book. Prior to every article where it says, this finance committee is putting this motion forward. This might be a
Oh, for
brief description of
19
it. You may see it there.
gonna be.
Depending if this language survives, or maybe FinCom alters it, but you probably see the best part of the body of this work show up in the book.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you. I'm not.
Broken up individually, you won't see it in this 3-4 page package, you'll see it broken up 11 times, my guess would be. But let's go through and make sure if there's any changes, we get to control them. So if you have any
Okay.
changes, go right ahead. Are there any changes in the new Article 19?
That's the one on reordering.
Yeah, and that's the one, so the audience are town meeting members,
Correct.
okay? And I think we have to be clearer than this about the fact that, for instance, I added as a fourth point here, something like this Article 19 includes changing the order of legislative and executive branches and replaces executive branch wording with townwide elected board and office holders, I think it is now. And takes moderator out of the legislature, of the legislative branch.
but isn't that,
Um,
isn't that in an article for that
Yeah.
particular chapter?
It is, and also my concern is that suggests that those are the only changes. We've made dozens of other changes. We've moved town manager out of some, but that's not in
yeah,
there.
that
And
should
we've,
be part of,
well, and
in
we've
here.
eliminated the references to departments, and that's not going to be in there. And we changed
in
the,
Article 19.
in Article
Oh, all
19.
right, part of
So
Article
in other words, you will, one of the reasons that I wanted to try and make this clearer and more concise is I did not want to repeat what ended up happening the last time the Charter Committee came forth, and every article had every little detail in there. I'm trusting that, again, first of all, this is just reordering. So this literally said, this is not telling people, go look at this is everything that was reordered. We created 2 new categories. We added new we moved a lot of things around. If you start listing them, you've got to list everything. And it's too long to list everything.
Well, that is a very significant change. And I think that one
But we
or
can't,
two
But
is important.
But it's in the article about that chapter.
And
So I think what Steve is saying to you, and that what I hear is
Alright.
that if you, just hear me for a second, if you start putting about what we reordered, then that article will essentially be, a duplication of the other article.
Okay, well, we
This
can
is,
go on and I'll.
no, let me just finish,
But-
let me finish. This is just talking about the fact that we did a reorder. Didn't say how we reordered, it said that we did reorder. And I agree with you, we need to make it clear what we reordered, but I think we do that on a chapter by chapter basis. Not in this general article that talks about, we did this major reorder. And I also think about when we go and we present these to the various committees, A&F, COPC, Select Board, the discussion about that as part of the presentation to get people to adopt it is talking about that. I don't think the article has to have, this particular article has to have all, that's just my opinion of it. I understand what you're saying. I just think it has already been covered in future, those changes have been covered in future articles.
Okay. we can
Well, let me
go
ask
ahead.
you this, Martha, what is your 4th bullet in its entirety
Actually, this. is
for,
very good.
Article 19 that you'd like to interject,
That the,
the wording was changed from legislative and executive or flip-flop?
No,
the town moderator section is in the legislative branch chapter of our current charter, not in the chapter with select board. Well, that's my argument, right? So this is where I reworded it most recently. 3 substantive changes are noted in the table of as noted in the table of contents are: 1, renaming the currently named executive branch, the townwide elected boards and office holders. As well as 2, switching the order of that newly named chapter with the legislative branch. And 3, moving the moderator section from the legislative branch chapter to the townwide elected boards and office holders chapter. So that is what my recommendation would be, to add to Article 19, but I'm wholly agreeable to keep going through our review here, and maybe I'll see it as you do.
Well,
And-
that's a very good idea. If you're comfortable with that, we'll go on and see if your concerns get addressed in the articles where that happens.
Okay,
And I do want to note that I did agree with you in terms of making sure that in each article that the chapter name
Yes, that's-
appear.
that's
And
right.
I spoke to
We
Sylvia,
conveyed that to the
Sylvia,
town
that's-
manager the other day.
and he
Yeah,
had said that
so that's my-
he would do that, so we would
He's
make
fine
sure
with
that that's the
so
case.
good.
Because I think that will, to some degree, also help clarify, so when people see the name, they will know the name, whether it's changed or not.
right.
Because we changed the name of almost every chapter, actually.
All right, then with that, we'll put a pin in 19, Article 20. As it reads, the summary, are there any concerns or additions or omissions for 20? Seeing none, we'll, want to vote on them individually, you want to vote on it as, what's your thought?
Well, I
as a
think
committee?
that since for Martha, she wanted to go through all of it first, I would say we should wait and go
Okay.
through all of them. And then we can then decide if we want to vote on them individually, but I'd like,
All right, no, that's fine with me.
I think we
But I
should
say that
go through them all first before we do anything.
it appears there's nothing that you'll have to come back for Article 20 at least this stage. All right, Article 21. To make changes to the reordered chapter 2 of this will be, this should start to get into what you're hoping for, Martha. Chapter 2 of the Plymouth Town Charter is recommended by the Charter Review Committee. The reordered chapter groups together all town-wide elected bodies and offices. In addition to grammatical changes and removing references to representative town meeting members, which are instead moved to the chapter dedicated to the legislative branch of town government, the substantive recommended changes are as follows. Select Board, no substantive changes are recommended in this chapter. Planning Board, changes are recommended to the Planning Board to authorize the expansion of the role of the associate member in the absence of an elected member, and to provide for the regular updating and oversight of the community master plan. School Committee, same article. A change is recommended to remove the requirement that the school committee be responsible for the maintenance and management of school facilities. And wrapping up, town moderator, no substantive changes are recommended in this chapter. Mr. Hanlon.
So we just had a precinct caucus last week. There's a lot of conversation about the school committee. And an issue about consolidation of services, you know. And so this says the school committee is responsible for the maintenance and management of school facilities. Is that by state law?
No,
It's not.
no, it's not. It was actually the one. When you look at our charter, it identifies 4 things that the school committee does.
The
The
current
first,
charter.
our current charter, the first 3 are state law. The 4th one about management of facilities is not a state law requirement.
That's good,
Well, that was also
because
one
it
of the.
wouldn't prevent consolidation. Okay, got it.
Any further questions on what is now Article 21? You know, thinking back to 19, Martha, do you see anything in this? That you could maybe break up your corrections and add something to this this article, or do you feel comfortable with Article 21?
Wait, I don't have my numbers right here.
You don't have to answer now, I just was wondering if
Yeah.
this might be somewhere where you can
Well, for
put
example,
something in there.
for example, if you're concerned, if we say town moderator, we say no substantive changes are recommended in this chapter. However, the town moderator has been moved from the chapter with the legislative branch. So that way it's clearly identified.
It's addressed and you break it up a little bit, that's all.
So, is that the chapter in our current charter? Yes. The moderator was with the legislative,
Right, so we say, but the
Um,
moderator,
so this is-
position,
That would be chapter 2, right?
which is now has been changed from legislative
has been moved.
or
I'm not,
moved,
I don't wanna
Yeah,
say
that's
changed,
okay.
because that's,
Yeah.
change is different
moved. From.
from the chapter. From the chapter,
See, and I would delete the first line. No substantive changes
well,
are
no,
recommended.
that's important, because that is the case. We have not made any substantive changes to the definition of, or the role of the moderator as defined in our charter, in our current charter. We have not changed that.
And I agree with that. So it's an agreement of, or a disagreement on what the word substantive means to the person reading, like to the town meeting member. And to me, that would be very confusing. I would say, why does it say no substantive changes and then it tells about a change? So
Well, there's a
it's hard for for me to discriminate between
Well-
what you consider the substantive change and what I consider substantive in terms of, you know, general
Well, moving
changes
something
to
from
the
what
charter.
well, all right, so my sentence, my using the word substantive. As I understand the word, a substantive change changes the substance, that would be the authority, the responsibilities, the obligations, the substance of the position. We didn't change the substance of the position, we merely located it in a different portion of the charter.
Right, and that can be interpreted in various ways.
Well, I don't,
And changing where items are in a charter, in the table of contents and what they're associated with can appear, at the least, to be change that is, and I'm not gonna use the word substantive, but important. It is different. It is, it's beyond my imagination why we would ever put the moderator in with the executive or the townwide bodies. That's like, as I said before, that could, something could be a town, what are townwide elected bodies, that could be in the guide. But, the fact that when you read about what the town moderator does, the 4 items or whatever it is, 5 items, it's all about the legislature. So it's, to me, it's a major change to change the moderator to that. So I would be happy if we didn't have this sentence, no substantive changes,
okay, so,
just
We have
explain
not-
what we did.
right.
I realize I was in the minority of that vote. I just want to
okay,
make sure that town meeting members
I
understand
understand that.
that change is there.
First of all, I do not believe the town moderator is part of the legislature. He's not. He's not, he doesn't vote on anything. He's just the ringleader. He's
He
the,
can't vote on
He's
it. He
capable of
will
voting.
hang
vote
hang on, hang on, hang
by
on,
law.
hang on,
If
hang on.
I understand that correctly.
Actually, the town moderator can only vote in the event of a tie.
Right.
Right,
Much the way the vice president
Right.
of the United States votes in a tie in Congress, but is not
Yeah.
a member of the legislative
Right, right,
body.
he's not a member. What we're doing here is not changing his role. The substantive,
I
the
understand
substantive,
that. I'm not arguing that.
okay, just hang on a second. What we did is, we made a chapter that talked about people that got elected.
And I understand that.
And so
too.
that's why,
But-
hang on, that's why we put him there.
Don't
If
agree
you
with
look at the language for the moderator, we made, and I don't remember why, but we made in 263, we deleted some language. So we haven't changed his role. What we have done is we, as an organizational process, we tried to group all the elected people
Glenn,
into.
please, I understand that.
I know, but the point is, you're
It's
trying
whether
to,
you consider it substantive or not, or whether you consider that the town meeting members will be put
Well-
off by a statement that says no substantive changes and then tells about a change.
but we can't control how people, we can't control how people define that word, Martha.
I know, but I want to help town meeting members understand, and I'm just saying,
So,
Okay.
that-
So are we down to
So
just
let me-
changing
so,
or
no, so let me,
using a different word than
so let-
substantive?
let me ask the question, Martha, then. Because I don't want town meeting members to get the wrong impression. That's important to me. I agree.
yes.
And when I drafted this language, I worked as hard as I
I'm
could
sure you did.
to not
I
be
don't mean to.
biased in any
Very-
way or to be advocacy. I wanted this to be as factual as possible. So I want town meeting members, when they see this, to know that the role of the moderator has not been changed. So is that what you want me to want to put in here instead? To say the role of the moderator has not been changed, but the moderator position has been moved from one branch, from one chapter to another?
And maybe start with the change or the move. And then, however, the role of the moderator has not been changed.
Well, I'm willing to certainly put about the role, to put those both in, but I think it's more important to address that we have not changed, because again, the first thing I want town meeting members to know is that we have not changed the role of the moderator. That is the first thing, that is the most important thing, that anyone,
We can't change it. That's, I'm not, remember when,
oh, no,
David Goldman
he
was
said
saying
there's
that
certain
we
things,
shouldn't, that we probably can't, and.
but there's some things we certainly could change, but that's the whole point. I wanna make it, but I want that clear to town meeting members, so I don't have
And
a
I-
problem with
And
saying
that,
that the role of the moderator has not been changed. Actually, I don't even say that, because it's no recommendations, because that's how I have to phrase
right,
everything. So,
yeah, I am, right,
Um,
we're not recommending any
There's not
change.
recommended any changes, however,
not,
Time out. The role of the moderator,
no recommendation has been made to change the role of the moderator. Let's put it that way.
yep. Second part is gonna be,
No recommendation has been made to change the role of the moderator. You can put that as a period, then we're gonna notice it. However,
position now appears.
the moderator position has been moved from the chapter on the legislative branch.
From the legislative branch chapter to the town-wide elected branch or chapter.
Well, I don't know if we need to put that because they know that this
Okay,
chapter
that's
is,
fair, yeah,
that chapter is headed town-wide elected.
yeah, no, keep it as minimal as you like, but make note that we haven't changed it out of that one legislative, I think
has
personally,
been
Martha,
moved,
people
again,
will
Yeah.
understand.
Has been
I do
moved
too,
from the chapter
thank you.
Yeah.
on the legislative branch.
Sorry, I couldn't come up with that.
No, no, this is the night to get it.
That's why we do this.
Mr. Moderator, Mr. Chairman.
Go right ahead, Mr. Donato.
Yeah, Al Gennaro, Precinct 17. I'm glad you made the changes. The moderator is derived from the legislative branch. He or she has really no other function other than what is set through the legislative branch. Plymouth is unique. Years ago, you elected a town clerk. You elected the moderator. Then we went from an open town meeting where everyone showed up to elected. And these leftover positions, the clerk eventually became appointed. And this moderator function goes back decades, or it goes back to the 1940s when you had an open town meeting. Most towns elect a moderator through the body. It is a function of because then we know what the moderator is up to. When he or she appoints the finance committee appoints, answers to us. They do that financial detailed work for us, so it flows properly. So I'm glad you cleared this up. I was a little concerned about that because in closing, we've had some concerns with the moderator and how much power he has. And that's been a concern in the town, and that's been corrected. And I think a lot of town meeting members would be concerned if he didn't make those changes. So thank you for the changes.
Thank you, Mr. Donato.
And,
Any further, Martha, go right ahead.
the moderator was elected in Plymouth.
That's
In the
okay, we're not,
past.
and still is, and we're not changing that.
I mean, was appointed, excuse me.
And
By
now,
the
and then we
legislative group.
changed it to an elected position, and that's
Yeah.
where it is, and we're not changing
Right,
that.
right.
Exactly, so.
All right,
Okay.
so, that actually takes care of some of your, first bullet. We got into that, Article 21. Okay, so if everybody happy with Article 21 now as it reads? Seeing no hands, we'll go on to Article 22. I don't wanna bore the whole committee. Want me to read these aloud, or does anyone have any, pre-done notes they would wanna bring up Article 22? What's the pleasure of the group?
I just read it, so
So you're good?
I'm good.
Yeah.
Did you have any thoughts on 22, on what is now 22, Martha?
Um,
Any of your notes
I,
pertain to that?
nothing outstanding. Unless it's related to, what was I can't, my mind is slipping
No,
here.
this is,
No, take your time.
this is all the town meeting, so. We really didn't. We made very few
Right,
real changes. Again, most of what we did was just to clarify. Again, the big changes we talked about were adding something to the caucuses. Requiring that. We're creating a separate simultaneous offices provision for town meeting as well as for the other bodies. And then most of what we did was just cleaning up.
yeah, I agree, this is fine.
Other than the conflict of interest, that was the one that was,
That actually got changed a little bit. Right? There
yeah,
was a couple
and that
things
says
related,
to
yeah.
remove the restriction on representative town meeting members who are town employees.
I think
So we
just-
did change that. So again, I did try and go through every provision and identify what I thought were the major things that were not just grammatical or eliminations for duplicative or things like that.
All right, then seeing, nothing that jumps out to anyone on Article 22, we'll move on.
Steve,
Article 20
one question, Steve, could you look at the board and see if I captured the town moderator change that? Can you read it?
No, we can't
You
read
have
that
to
yet.
share it.
Are
It
you
is,
putting
it
some-
is, I am screen sharing.
We don't see it.
Hang
Oh,
on,
good.
maybe,
We reduce that Zoom screen, Len?
no, I'm sharing. Let me unshare myself for a minute, Michelle. That might be what's causing the problem. Cause I don't need to be shared. Why am I looking at that damn thing? Sorry. Oh. Okay, let me see if I can screen your share your screen, Michelle.
I should be able
Uh,
to do it with you.
No, I can't share. You have to do it.
It
Does it-
says, mine says I am screen sharing right now.
Yeah, we're not seeing it, I'm
Hang
sorry.
on. Hang on.
Look at the co-host and see if there's something there. It does say that
Is it up in the owl?
Oh, maybe that's it right there. Hang on.
there are more. Oh, it says you're co-hosting.
That says stop sharing. You're sharing, but we're not seeing it. Give me a second. Give me a second.
How about optimize for video sharing under the options? No.
Where were you?
Underneath her, where it says layouts, options. You have share sound, optimize for video sharing, see if that works.
It says, where? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. No, that's grayed out. That's not. No. Hang on a second, Michelle. Not sure why. Yeah, it says multiple. Let me do this. Try and see if you can unshare and share again.
What was the correction she was trying to do, Steve?
What we just did, I think she typed it out,
Oh,
and she
okay.
wants to make sure that she's typed it out as we discussed it.
Yeah, okay, that's important. I think we should.
Michelle?
I'm coming, hold on.
Okay. I wish they would fix this stuff.
There you go.
Martha, there is what we just kind of said.
Well, let's see. There we go. How does that look?
It's Article 21, right?
I think that's very good.
Better than I could do it.
Except I don't think it's townwide elected town boards, and I think it's just townwide elected boards and office holder. And office holders.
Easy enough to,
Uh,
right in the
townwide, townwide
It is.
elected.
wide elected town boards.
It is.
That's what we intended? I thought that was, I think that was just a typo, to be honest, but
Be
okay.
careful, Bridget. Hang on.
Where's the type on now in the table of contents?
Yeah, townwide elected town boards and office holders.
Get rid of that second town?
Yeah, I mean, do we need to say that they're townwide town offices? The town doesn't vote on anything other than town office. Our charter doesn't address a federal or state.
So you-
So, first, office holders is plural, but yes, eliminate that second town, correct? You got that right.
Okay.
Yeah, just delete it.
Well, we need to delete it from the charter now also, so,
But just delete it here. 'Cause
okay.
we're gonna- 'cause we're gonna-
But you're absolutely right. It does need to be, and that's office holders plural. And you're right, it does need to be, actually, it doesn't need to be a deletion.
But the one we pass in, it can't show up in the table of contents.
I've already marked it to delete it.
All right.
Right, because that's new, so it's not something that's a strikeout from
Right,
our
Exactly right.
current.
That's right. Oh, yeah.
So, okay,
Our work. Yeah.
okay,
All right,
great, thank you.
so moving back, ahead, we felt good with Article, 4,
22.
which is now renamed Article 22. We'll go on to Article, 23. This is the reordering of Chapter 4. This talks about, voting and,
Elections.
elections and holding, office. Is there anything in this, 8 or 10 bullets that, concern anybody or need to be reviewed? Not seeing anything, or is everyone reading it, want a minute to read it, or does everyone feel comfortable? Okay,
I think we're good.
moving on. Article 24. This is the reordering of Chapter 5 of the Plymouth Town Charter, recommended by the Charter Review Committee. This talks about the town manager's, duties and responsibilities, if I'm not mistaken. Talks about, head of finance, director of finance.
Right.
Department of Planning and the Department of Public Works. It's 4 bullets in this particular article. Anything that anyone would like to speak to?
And were people comfortable with my putting that bold note in there? I thought that was very important to stress, because I know that would be confusing to people.
Yeah, I think that should be huge. Okay, seeing no further discussion, Article 25. This is the reordering of Chapter 6 of the Plymouth Town Charter. This talks about the Advisory and Finance Committee and their way that they're appointed, the way that they do reports. The Conservation Commission and the Zoning Board of Appeals. Nothing jumps out at anyone?
We're talking about, what was 7 now is 25,
Yes, I believe that's correct.
and that's, the title of that chapter is statutory required public bodies.
Okay. Is there anything in that chapter that anyone has any concern with the way that it was defined for purposes for town meeting? Seeing none, we'll go on to what's on the paper is Article 8. Now, in our minds will be Article 26. That's the reordering of Chapter 7 of the Plymouth Town Charter. This talks primarily about other committees consisting of the Committee of Precinct Chairs, Board of Health, Open Space, the Land Use and Acquisition, the Building Committee, and the Charter Review Committee, coincidentally enough. Any questions on anything in that chapter, chapter 26? Everything looks pretty good. Moving on to Article 9, as we see it here today, it will be Article 27. This is the reordering of Chapter 8 of the Plymouth Town Charter. And this talks about boards and how this, what is this, how they're set up. Change it to recommend it to create a fixed date by which boards, commissions, and committees shall organize annually. Process must be the result after elections. Anyone have anything they'd like to talk about in Article 27? Moving on to Article 28, which is on your paper today, Article 10. This is to reorder Chapter 9, the Plymouth Town Charter. This talks about the Plymouth Town Charter and I think it talks about when we meet every 5 years.
No, this is just this is the miscellaneous provisions section.
And I don't wanna be, maybe I should have been on top of this. Are we reordering? Is this all new? One of them was all new, wasn't it? One of the chapters?
Yes, that was the. Yeah, but this is make charter changes to the reordered charter chapter.
Okay, so we'll keep using that word. Okay, that was my mistake, all right, that confused me.
This is to make sure that everybody knows that as they're doing this, this is to chapter 8 of the reordered charter, chapter 7 of the reordered, not of the existing.
Fair enough, yep, okay, that's good. And then, so that would, in it, if I'm not mistaken, Steve, you can correct me, that takes care of our work
Correct.
as we did, over the last, 13, 14 months. Speaking to the charter and the revisions or the corrections or the deletions we made. Now, Article 11, as we have it here today, you'll see it on Saturday morning, morning of town meeting is Article 29. And this is to permit the town clerk, hopefully to take all of the changes that were accepted by town meeting and reorder them. So,
And for this one, I would actually go right to the language that Silvio had prepared in the draft warrant.
yeah,
It says, to see if the town will vote to authorize the town clerk with the approval of the town manager to make clerical and non-substantive editorial revisions to the Plymouth Town Charter in accordance with the changes as adopted by town meeting on October 19, 2024, or take any other action relative thereto.
it seems to sum it up pretty good.
I think that's not just, at that point, it's not just the reordering, but also obviously that would deal with the internal references and things like that.
And
So it's not reordering, it's renumbering, right, in this here.
Yes, it's renumbering, it would be,
Renumber
so
might be a better
it's not
word.
just, I think
It
that's,
says
It says
renumber, I read it wrong.
sorry, that was I misspoke.
Yeah, right. That's what I thought.
Yep, no, yes, so
All right,
this
so
is,
that concludes at least,
So we're gonna put,
going over the articles. Do you have anything that can go back, Martha, and any place else that you can?
well, no,
Okay.
I'm all set.
Oh, you are? Okay. Make sure that.
Because
take your time.
the other part of changing the names of the charters, now that there's no executive, it is townwide elected, et cetera. That's all written, it's down here. So, happy with that. But did I understand that we were gonna put?
yes, we're gonna,
Yeah.
Michelle is typing it as we
Good.
speak.
I agree with that.
Follow the ball from the screen.
Do we need to vote on this?
Yeah, we're gonna vote on them in their entirety. Sounds like everybody's. in
I think
pretty
since
good-
everybody's comfortable, I think we can
Comfortable,
vote
yeah.
for everything in its entirety.
We'll just wait till she, everybody agrees with her wording.
Are you verifying what she's typing? 'Cause I don't
Yes,
have
that is exactly what was put in the,
It looks good.
The draft warrant,
I can see it from here, but I would take it there. It out loud.
So we're gonna, there's a motion to approve the language of the articles as amended. Is that a good description of them?
And it's a good way of putting it. Yeah, we amended it in two places, right?
yes,
So, yeah, I think that's a way of putting it. Is that a motion, Len?
That's a motion by me.
All right,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Hanlon. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we can just do a raise your hand vote. All in favor? Appears to be unanimous. Thank you. So that concludes the two, specified line items we're gonna talk about this evening. Going in now to a new or old business. Is there anything, someone, Mr. Hanlon?
Do we have a schedule for when this was presented to the selectmen and FinCom?
Yes.
Yes, we do.
And I thought we had talked about a presentation to the COPC.
You wanna know?
Yes,
that? I can tell you. Hang on.
well, FinCom is September fifth.
September, and after
And I think
September
so.
fifth.
before, the night before is the select board, I think. I'll have to look on the paperwork. I should have that, sorry.
That's next week.
And then the
no.
9th is the,
No, because there's not a meeting,
There
there's
is a
not a,
meeting on the
there's not a
4th.
select board meeting that, because the election is that night.
Probably election.
Election that day,
The
excuse
day
me.
before, but
The COPC is on the 9th,
we said the 8th?
9/9?
It's the 9th, I believe.
9/9. I got that right from the horse's mouth. And the select board is on the 10th.
Okay,
And the
yeah.
only thing that's missing, that you were gonna, are we being asked to do something for the school committee?
We were asked. The only night, that they gave me two nights, one is a conflict, the other one is September 23rd. Now, we didn't discuss if we were going to do a presentation there. I think it's a good idea to, but is there a thought amongst the committee to do a presentation to the school committee on the 23rd of September?
What's that look from? So I suggested, since we know why they want us to come talk to them. And the fact that I was the one that proposed taking that paragraph out.
Well, she's very, we got this, I got an email from Miss Badger, the chairperson. We would like to learn more about the changes that the charter committee is proposing regarding the school committee. Our meetings are on September 9th, which we have a conflict with COPC. And the 23rd, so I can get back to her and let her know
Okay,
to book us an agenda spot on the 23rd.
and I would assume if she gets, by chance gets, oh, that's the primary, forget about it, I thought it was the election. I'd be glad to go do that, if somebody wants to come with me to help me dodge the stones. I'm busy
that, man.
Thank you, Mike.
What night of the week?
Did you
is
meet
it?
me for a beer afterwards at least?
What night
You
is
may
that?
need something stronger.
Well, you know,
what day?
Oh, Monday.
23rd.
I think
They
meet
meet on
Mondays,
Mondays.
right? So the 23rd of September is,
23rd.
I have a big bottle of something in my house, I'm just.
Well,
That
I
way
would
I
like
won't
to
have to
come to
walk.
all of these, and at least be there.
well, that would
I
be my
think
hope,
that-
if whoever wants to attend, anyone who wants to speak, we can break it up, everyone can speak, some can speak, whoever.
Well, I mean, I think we should, as we get closer to those dates, we should have a strategy about, I mean, you know, Steve's got a lot that he's presenting to the different committees, and there's like on the night, I think the A and F, aren't you doing land bank the night? right
I'm
before?
doing the land bank the night before.
So I'm just saying, you know, not to have him be standing there. Not that he's, you know, we don't want him to be there presenting, but just that he's not standing there for.
They're gonna be tired of me from other things.
Right, that's
That's what Lynn is basically saying.
Well, you know, it helps to have, you know,
I also agree. I think it's important to stress that this is a committee decision in terms of our recommendations, that everybody participated fully. This is not just one person's or one small group's approach, that we had different people presenting different ideas and that we worked collaboratively to try and come up with the best that language we could for town meetings consideration.
Oh, I agree. That's why I extended to anyone and everyone that wants to participate in presenting. Because everyone has a strong suit, everyone has a, an opinion on what we did as a body of work, and I think as a town meeting member sitting out in the audience, if I were to hear from anyone in the committee, or everyone in the committee even, that's even better. I would feel much more comfortable that, doesn't have to say that we were 100% on everything, but I think the vast majority of our votes, all of our votes are obviously a majority, but I think for the most part, we had a very good group and everyone contributed, and I think in the presentation, it'd be nice if that shows. It's up to.
So I've never been to any of these meetings, that's my hesitation, I do wanna go.
Yep.
Oh, we're gonna throw you right out front, and that's it.
Oh,
Congratulations, you're now doing the COPC presentation.
We voted
You'll
last-
love it.
We voted last week, yeah, the other spokesperson. You didn't know that? You didn't get that memo?
I was worried about what was going
So,
on behind closed doors.
What's that,
What-
Mr. Hanlon?
So, Finance Committee, September 5th.
Yep.
COPC, September 9th, Board of Selectmen, September 10th, School Committee, September 23rd.
And then there's presentation night.
Do we have a
Well,
presentation?
Well, is that the town moderator's presentation night?
Well, it's presentation night.
Well, the town moderator does a presentation for PAC TV where you can get on tape for Saturday
That's
morning.
really a walk through it's the motions meeting you're talking about.
Well, the motion.
No,
He
that's
does two
different.
things. He does a presentation and he does what's the one he does a walkthrough? What's he call it?
Thursday, the 10th is,
That is,
October
that's
10th
the
is
motions and the.
Presentation.
So the motion being is in the morning thing where you go upstairs and you can change if you
Try
want.
and
motion.
change.
Yeah.
Preview, he calls it a
Preview.
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 That's right.
so what is I'm being naive, what is,
Presentation, lately, because of COVID, is something that the moderator does through PAC TV, and if you're a presenter of an article, you can go in anytime during the prior week and tape 5 minutes
Oh,
or.
was it anytime? We've just been doing it as a night. They've literally been, those who wish to have a recording of their
Oh, I see.
presentation. Those who are proponents of an article, presenting an article who.
want
wish to-
something more than just somebody standing in front of the town meeting talking?
No, this is actually to record something.
Well, that's what I meant.
So that town meeting members in advance of.
Oh, I
town
see.
meeting, it's in advance of town meeting can get on. So you can watch it that night live, or because the local scene will record it, it'll then be available if someone wants to look at it.
But for about 10 years prior to COVID, COPC had a presentation night, which was sort of calling the ninth of that for us. They're gonna talk about town meeting articles. And they've given us 45 minutes or an hour, Mr. Tavares.
So then the other question is, what about caucuses?
Well, this is part of where I'm going with
Okay,
this.
sorry, I didn't mean to steal your thunder.
Because I'm gonna send out a memo to the chair of precinct 15 tonight or tomorrow with these dates. Because as I said, we met as a precinct last week.
Right.
And all we talked about was the draft warrant. We went over the draft warrant and what do we think is important? What do you think is housekeeping, stuff like that? And so we're gonna have a separate meeting just on the charter. And I believe that's September 26th. 26th.
Of course it is.
Well, we could,
And there'll be other caucus that are getting
Yeah.
together or not.
Yeah, 17
Yeah,
of them.
I just think it's important enough, this was my recommendation to precinct 15, it was important enough to have a separate meeting just on the charter.
But were your hopes that you were gonna represent the charter committee, or do you want someone from the charter
No,
committee to help
we
you?
don't need a presentation, because this is part of my point, and you're on the committee of precinct chairs. The chair of the precinct chairs needs to get this schedule and send it out to every single town meeting member. They have 4 opportunities to listen to a presentation.
So why come to the caucus and do it again?
Yeah, so why come to the caucus and do it
Very
again?
good, very good. I like
That's the
that
whole
thinking.
point of it,
You're absolutely right.
Because they want to ask questions.
so that you or somebody.
Because they wanna ask questions and because they still want everybody to go to them. That will be the answer.
Well, the
It's
point
unfortunate,
is,
but that is,
and this is what I told precinct 15. There will not be a presentation at our caucus. You have the opportunity, you had 3 opportunities, now you got 4, including the school committee, to hear the presentation. Now it's about discussing and asking
Well,
questions.
the school committee is just going to, and the school committee was very clear. They want to know simply,
Specific.
how does the charter
I get it.
impact,
I get it.
the proposed changes impact the school committee?
Yeah, but what's the script that you're all gonna consistently?
Okay, so this is what I wanted to ask. Alan, Alan is
Well,
the,
let me finish. this.
Okay.
So I think it's important for the precinct chairs to put this schedule out
Yeah, I
to
agree.
all town meeting members. So that they have an opportunity to listen to at least
yeah,
one
that's a start.
of these
Yeah.
presentations. I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
And what would-
So
go
my,
ahead.
my question is, what is your role as chair of the committee in terms of A and F Select Board, COPC and School Committee? And I was thinking, what's that here? Are
See,
you
my
going to
hope-
write up a script? that-
I certainly, I think
or
we talked about
Something
writing up
that we
an
can all,
executive summary of what we've done.
and,
but-
and obviously we have what is
And
already
it's pretty
before us
much, pretty
here.
much already written.
That is, you know, a great start.
That's pretty much written. But my hope as a chair.
Or
would
is
be-
this, am I presuming what is inaccurate? That this can be used as the
I think it
script
could- in my
related
opinion, that
or
could be used as an
related to?
outline do a
What,
discussion.
what does? What's the purpose of the A and F? You're the chair.
Well, as a
You-
chair, I
you
would think, I would
Explain why
go in.
we think these changes
I
are.
would start, I would open up the presentation, talk a little history, how we got to be a committee, when we started, how long we've been doing it, and then break off into what our philosophies were. We decided to streamline the charter, remove anything that was redundant, remove anything that was didn't need to be in there as it pertained to talking about state law. And then we made some changes, made some omissions. We put things where they should be, which makes this whole document easier to read. And then after a few minutes of talking about our philosophies and a few of the high points that we talked about, maybe if there's others from the committee that are there that night that really know a certain part of the charter that, that really can hammer it home, they talk about it.
So does A and F or Select Board or COPD, do they ask questions of the?
They typically
of
do.
you
They
and
typically give you
whoever
a
else is there
certain
with you?
time frame, and then if you're talking, they'll extend it. But once I think we do our presentation, in my head, I have the presentation being, 15 minutes, talking about those things and then taking questions. There might be some specific things that. This is what I was sort of fooling around myself as I drive around and think. There might be something that we talked about in this charter that catches someone's eye and it becomes an issue that I don't think of today as an issue. There could be something in there that we're all worried about that breezes through, people like it. So we'll know the first 1 or 2 presentations where the pressure is gonna come from. I think it's a good document, and I'm gonna stress, while I speak as a town meeting member, having gone through this now twice. I think we've gone through 2 charter committees as a town meeting member. That I think what we've done is sort of novel. We've made the thing easier to read, easier to look at, easier to use. And I think we've made some great changes, or not changes as much as
Recommendations.
recommendations. And that's where I'm coming from as a presenter. I've been on the other side voting on this, and I will be again, quite honestly. But this is a good document, and here's why. It's easier to read. It's easy to find things. You wanna find anything out about the COPC now, you go to chapter 7 or whatever number is up top.
Yeah, I mean, for example, at COPC, since Al's on the committee, we can't expect Al to stand up and do the presentation, so I'm willing to stand up, and either Steve or I, if he's got some stuff he's presenting that's already got him up there talking, lots of things, I'm willing to stand up in front of the committee, but I think we all should get together and come up with some language that we want to use. Personally, I subscribe to the less is more concept. The less you say, the better off you are, because it leaves less room for interpretation. I
Have you
think
been-
let people to try to interpret it and ask questions and answer the questions, you know? As our esteemed lawyer will tell you, if you've ever been deposed, there's 3 words you say, yes, no, and I don't know. And some people say, well, yes, I don't know, it's not a word. But I just think, you know, we need to just help people understand it. You're concerned about that part in that first article, I understand that. And I think that's our role. They have to make up their own mind. It's, to me, it's not a sales job, it's an information. We're just providing information and some clarity on what we did and why we did it. You know, to kind of piggyback on what Al said, and that's just my philosophy.
So Lynn, have you been to a article presentation meeting or whatever it's called? A and F Select Board?
No,
COPC?
no, and it's just, to me, it's just another committee, another presentation. I've stood up in front of 1,500 people and made presentations, so I'm not nervous about it. I don't think there's anything just my opinion, I don't think there's anything magical about it. These are, you go in with the philosophy, these are smart, knowledgeable people that can figure things out. And if they have some questions about some things, you help them try to understand what the words on the paper, what the intent of the words on the paper, not what they mean, but what was the intent of the words. You know, give them some context to it, so, you know, I'm not afraid of doing it.
So can I
Go
ask
ahead.
Alan, do you feel like as a COPC member that you wouldn't be able to change hats during the meeting, that you wouldn't?
Oh, no, I feel
Want to?
comfortable that I would get up out of my seat, walk over to the podium and start the presentation, depending on who came, hopefully Steve and Mike, hopefully everyone's there. Cause I
Yeah.
think once we do 1 or
Right.
2 of these, we'll start to flesh out what people wanna know about, and somebody might know more about it. Len and Steve have typed and written this thing, 100 times. So if somebody has a very specific question on some wording, they're probably gonna answer it, unless you and I know off the top of our head. But I'd love to have that support where we can answer everything that night. Somebody has something to contribute, and somebody has a strong suit and knows, they know this part of, they know it down. So I would get up, make the introduction, stand to the side in case there's any last minute questions or a final wrap up, and then I'll go back as precinct 10 guy. Steve?
That sounds good to me.
I do intend on being at most, if not all of these, and for your comfort, Martha, yes, I have presented to every one of these
Well,
on several occasions. I can also tell you.
Not that I've seen it.
I can also tell you that I believe our former chair may be appearing at a couple of these, Mr. Golden. Now, Mr. Golden, of course, is a select board member. He is also a former COPC member. So his imprimatur, if you will, as to our work may also carry some weight with
I'm glad to hear
town
that.
meeting members. He is very excited by what we have finished with. I don't want to speak for him, but obviously he has expressed his support of the committee's work and his interest in seeing this put forth and get a good reception.
No, that's a great point, and I forgot to mention that, but as I've driven around and said this thing in my head as I'm driving, Mr. Golden is the liaison now with COPC. She's gonna be in the room, and, I'll be the first to admit, I think he did the lion's share in carrying this thing, getting it started, and he should be noted for that, and, I don't know if if it's appropriate in his role now to come up and speak to it, but he may be able to speak on the premise of how we got started and why we went in certain directions. And that was gonna be a benefit if we have a select board buy-in, right off the rails. So, yeah, I think, Steve raised a good point. I think you have to make note of, Mr. Golden, Mr. Zuparelli. I know he left for, personal reasons or conflicts, but he was huge. He was a huge help. I know we had a good committee, and I hope, and not to put you on the spot, do you have an interest in speaking, or do you feel like you would feel it out, or do you wanna get up and
I
speak
certainly
to the
would
process?
participate as
Yeah.
needed.
So I want you to feel comfortable to do that. Mr. Pisa is a wealth of information. Mr. Hutchinson on here tonight. Mr. Lawler is gonna be sitting on the other side of the table in A and F. But he knows everything we did here, and he has his opinions. He could explain it, so I think and I probably have a different opinion of Mr. Hanlon on the caucuses. I'm gonna hope to go to every caucus I can go to, because I've learned, at least in town meeting, the more you put yourself in front of people and let them ask you questions, good or bad, if they beat you up or if they're good, you stand, I feel, a much better chance Saturday morning of passing. If I talk to you, and I don't even know you, you're from precinct 18, but you went a one-on-one with me and we talked, it might have been enough to change your mind or make you vote for it. So I don't wanna leave any stone unturned. We only meet twice a year. I wanna talk to 161 people if I can.
I've been to I was, one of the league members that went to the caucuses when the commission's proposal was
Hmm.
coming before, at our town, Springtown meeting ballot question. So that I have done.
And you maybe have the same
Explaining.
opinion, the more you get in front of the.
Right, it was just educational. The
It's a
league
difference
didn't
of
have a
opinion, but-
position, we were
Yeah.
helping educate.
I don't think there's a difference of opinion. I think it's a just simple matter of exhaustion.
No, yeah.
And because I mean, I will be attending a number of them
Yeah.
on Land Bank, but again, I also have Mr. Canty and Mr. Golden who will be attending other caucuses on, so we can divide up, and we should be doing the same thing for this. We should make sure, I mean, the irony is, when we talk about the COPC, we had 4 COPC members on this committee at one point or another. Mr. Golden, yourself, Ms. Cavaco, and Mr. Hutchinson.
Not me.
No, he was talking about
Oh,
that.
I'm sorry.
I was,
We've
Yeah.
been here too long, Martha.
I was speaking about Alan, but yeah, so. we
No,
had-
but that's a great point.
And one
Yeah.
former member.
And one former member, that's right, so. And which is ironic, because probably the largest change in our charter is in really defining the role of the COPC.
You right? Say, Helen, go right ahead.
There's two thoughts I wanna get out here. One is, we need to know what the schedule of the 18 precinct caucuses.
I'll have to ask Mr. Tavares. I'll get that as quick as I can.
Good luck getting that anytime, because that
Well,
will,
I understand.
that will change, and I will also say that again, there will have multiple meetings because of the size of the warrant in general, so. It's not just a question of when the schedule is, but when they want to hear from us on the charter as opposed to other articles.
I understand, but the sooner we get that information, the better.
Of course it is.
So I won't be present at any of these 4 meetings.
Oh, you're out of town.
Yes, I
Okay.
am. All of them. I'm sitting there looking at my schedule, which I still use.
Yeah, I know, we went over that.
And I'm
Well, Mitch, is there
Busy man,
anything,
just a busy man, my friend.
is there anything you, at this stage tonight, you could add, that we should do with these, presentations, any? And if you were here, would you do anything different than we've spoke about so far this evening?
Well, my philosophy of precinct caucusing, back from when I was a chair.
Well, I'm just talking about the 4 events you're gonna miss.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay, good.
no,
Sorry.
you've got it under control. You know, you will have a script. I'm sure it's not gonna change from one meeting to another. That's all fine. My very strong recommendation is that we not, because some precinct caucuses are gonna say, oh, we want a presentation. And if we make it clear to them that there are 4 presentations, maybe not the school committee so much, but the other 3. There are 3 presentations. There's opportunities for town meeting members to hear what you and others have to say.
And then if
So
there's
that-
additional questions, we could come in and address that, but
The question.
That's a good point, maybe we'll just go under that.
I mean, we need to,
Umbrella, we'll be there to answer questions.
I think when Mike's saying we need to sell that concept and say, look, you can watch it on Back TV, you can watch it on YouTube, you can go there and sit in person, you can participate in a Zoom thing. So there's lots of ways for you to hear that information. And then after the fact, if there is a series of questions that you still have, and your caucus would like somebody from the committee to come and talk to you about it, let us know, and we will do our best to accommodate your schedule.
Well, I think it ought to be mandatory that somebody from this committee go to every precinct caucus. unless there's some reason why we can't. I would scheduling conflicts.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah,
And I would even suggest that there be two people.
I think it's best to have at least two, right?
I mean, I'm gonna be out of town for my own precinct caucus.
So, well,
It's
there's
just-
other ones to go.
You gonna dial in at least, or you?
Well, yeah, I will
Yeah.
be there by Zoom
Yeah,
and try to answer questions, but, you know, I'm gonna say, when I send my message to wrestling, these are 3 opportunities for 9 people from precinct 15 to listen to the presentation. Please take the opportunity to listen, and if you can't be there in person or you can't watch it live, Pack TV is always recorded, like, you
Yeah,
can
no, I
watch it
think-
at your leisure.
Lee, please. Not to put you on the spot, Martha, but does the league have any desire, or has there been any talk about putting together a informational night?
No, not that I know of.
Okay.
At this point.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's
Yeah.
needed, but I didn't know if you had something in the,
Yeah, this is really, since it's for town meeting members,
Yeah.
not for the voters, I could understand that.
yeah, that makes sense.
Well, we could, probably, but
I didn't know when
we
you
are
had,
stretched
you had a
thin,
liaison here all the time, I
and,
don't know if you had built a
So Mike,
executive
15 was
summary of your
talking about-
own.
Sorry, 15
Not
was talking
yet.
about,
Okay,
I
so,
don't know.
but thanks
that would
for
be
asking.
interesting, was that?
Thanks for asking.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be anything related to a position, you know, a yes, no in any way, a support.
No,
or
but just
not.
informational, yeah,
It would be informational,
Yeah.
yeah.
no, that's
It
fair,
would-
I would, yeah.
Which is,
understand that, yeah.
similar to what you're talking about.
That's fair.
Us
Yeah.
doing at the caucuses.
So you were talking about September 26th, was it the precinct 15 wanted to do a charter?
That's what we talked about last week,
Okay.
but we didn't know what the schedule was.
Right.
So,
If that, just to understand, if that is something that they want, I can make myself available on the 26th. At some point, shortly before town meeting, my wife will divorce me, but nonetheless.
September 26th, 6
Yeah, and
o'clock
I mean, I could help.
in the rec room.
Yeah.
And then.
I can't do the
That's,
26th.
so unless something changes, because I'm not the chair anymore, that's the schedule to hear the charter question. Because,
I can't do it.
Who's your chair, wrestling?
what's that?
Who's your chair, wrestling?
Yeah. Because our town meeting caucus, the one we have right before town meeting, is on the October 16th. And we would hear all the other articles at that time.
So that's the Wednesday, I'm gonna do the 7th.
That's the Wednesday before town meeting. Yeah.
All right.
And it's typically, I haven't seen the schedule, but it's typically 4 or 5 precincts that double up. So that might help the schedule a little bit.
You know, when I send my
But there
email,
are also several precincts that tend to choose to meet on the same night
That's true too.
and do not double up, but rather require you to
Drive
either
around.
be in 2 places at once or risk one of the biggest speeding tickets that the town of Plymouth has ever seen, attempting to get from one place to
I
another.
mean, I heard Lee from planning say that he suggested that, and it would be next, is to have 2 nights where people came in and presented to half of the precincts one night, the other half another night, like at the high school. And then each precinct could go off in their own room and have their conversations after they hear the presentation. Just for that reason, because, you know, for town employees, it's just, it's death, you know, it's a march, you know, it's a bridge over River Kwai, you know. But so,
Hey,
you know,
folks.
it's just,
Hey, this
Yes,
is
yeah.
Michelle. I am on the town's calendar right now, and there are some precinct. I can give you some dates right now for some of the meetings that are scheduled. So I am seeing precinct 3 for September 5th. They're at 5:30 at the school administration building, so 11 Lincoln Street. I'm seeing precinct 12 on September 12th, 7 p.m. at the Cedarville Fire Station. Let me hold on. And Precinct 13 is October 8th, 6:30 PM at the airport. Precinct 16 has 2 meetings scheduled. October 8th, 7 PM at the Plymouth Middle School, must be PCIS. Also, precinct 16 is October 15. Oh, that's the date of, is that the day of the meeting? No, October 15th, 7 PM. Wait a minute. When's town, when's,
Town meeting.
19th.
okay, so they have 2 meetings, the precinct 16, the second meeting is October 15, 7 PM at Plymouth South Middle School. Precinct 11, October 16, 6:30 PM at the airport. So that is the schedule so far. If you need me to repeat anything, let me know.
Well, thanks.
We had 13 and 11 don't meet on the same night. But anyway, I'm sure they have,
11 and
they have
13
good
used
reasons.
used to always meet together.
Yeah, well, I think, I remember being out there for,
Maybe
and
they
there
don't
were
like each
2.
other.
I had to go from one, they were in 2 different places, obviously, meeting.
So I'll ask Mr. Tavares if you can keep me up to date on that as well. I'll try to keep it, keep everyone here as updated as the best I can.
Yeah, some people may, some precincts may decide to do a separate meeting, which is what we did.
Mhm.
Just to hear the charters, others may just lump it all together.
Looking at the draft, there's quite a bit on there for the fall, isn't there?
It is,
It's pretty packed.
reasonably packed, although. Again, some of it is more housekeeping, but yes.
Alan,
Yes.
so we're gonna have this latest draft, whatever that number is, today's date or something, right?
Well,
Oh, this 24/08/26.
it's good, Martha, it's probably gonna just say, this is, we're gonna, Michelle and I are gonna figure out editing this, what the changes we made tonight. And then it's gonna be the one that's gonna be distributed to everybody, so the
So it would
revision,
be no version on it. It
it may
is,
say the proposed charter for town meeting 2024, whatever, we'll come up with the right language.
We'll probably,
Alright.
for our own purposes, call it final.
But,
Yeah.
right,
all right,
Well,
And that'll be, as explained to me earlier, by 11 o'clock tomorrow.
yeah, Michelle and I will figure it out,
Oh,
we gotta
that's
get
right.
it, we gotta get it so that they can get it to everybody, because there's been some confusion about what the version is they should be looking at.
Do we
so I have
need, do we need a
questions?
motion, Len? If we find any more typos, any minor corrections that can be made without,
I
vote
think
of
we need, I think the language of the last article covers that. And so I think we should just leave it alone and let it be taken care of when,
No, I think ultimately what Michelle is saying, if, as you're going through, if you
Tonight.
catch any more
Tomorrow.
typographical errors. I think the committee has already voted that we don't consider typographical errors to be something that the committee needs to
okay,
address.
Yeah, we leave it up to you to.
So,
Okay.
You see something
Like
that's
a
slipping through?
capital
Yes,
T.
Michelle, go ahead.
or another capital TM for
Right.
town meeting, we
I-
voted to do that, we should just allow it to be done.
Every time you look at this,
I understand, believe me.
for now until eternity, you will find a typo.
I know,
Alan?
I'm gonna go right ahead.
Well, 2 things. One is, so then a version will be online, the final version in a couple days. or
No,
what?
tomorrow.
Okay, and what about hard copies? So-
You
As
can
far
ask,
as the book,
No, as far as if people wanna come to town meeting, to town hall and get a hard copy is what I remember the commissioners did.
you know, the commissioner, but I
recall.
think they had to get a budget item to print those.
Yeah,
I'll have
that,
to
I'm not
find out.
talking about that.
So we just mean 162 copies of it for the town meeting member?
that'll be there.
I
I
will be in the
wasn't
books.
thinking,
town meeting
Oh.
members are going to get hard copies.
well, will
So,
there be copies here for anybody? Cause people are already saying to me, I'd like to get a hard copy. When is one gonna be available? So what's the what should I say?
I'll have to add, well, maybe Michelle, we don't have a budget for that.
No,
for
we
the-
don't. No, we
Right.
don't. And there won't be any copies here. We can talk to the town manager to see if we
Yeah.
can print, 10 copies. Um, but there's not gonna be, 50 copies, 150 copies sitting here.
Maybe between Michelle and I, we'll talk to the town manager or the assistant town manager and see if we can get a certain number of copies for this building and for the library. But I don't know if we can do many without a budget.
Actually, I'm rethinking in perspective. So the town meeting members are the ones that vote on it. They're all gonna have a hard copy.
They're all gonna
Oh,
have, yeah.
yes.
So there will be other, interested
And
citizens.
they should. they
So
should
how
get-
many would that be? 20 or 30?
We don't know.
So I know we don't, but I'm guessing that we're not talking big numbers.
I think as a courtesy, we should have a small number
At the,
available.
I agree, the library in here, like maybe 20 in each place or
I'll ask to see if we can
15
get
or
20
something.
at each place.
see how it
And
goes.
then, we'll certainly make a flyer or a notice that certainly gonna be on the, not to put it on them to go get it themselves off the website, but it will be there.
Yeah, well, some
For
people
them to
like
print
to
it on
read it that
themselves and
way.
read it.
There was
And
talk,
what-
there was,
I'm
there
sorry,
was,
go
ta-
ahead.
there was talk among the committee at one time that you wanted town meeting members also to receive a copy of the current charter. And I spoke to Jeanette White, Advisory and Finance, yesterday about that. And I told her I would, ask you folks, do you want that being out there with the charter?
That might have been early on, Michelle, but I think we abandoned that pretty quickly when, we had that working group where we reorganized. Cause that's a little easier to go side by side with our changes and our admissions. I would say at this point, do not worry about sending out the existing charter.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Except a reference that it's on the town website.
You can make a reference that it's on there, but I think, unless I'm mistaken, I thought, a quarter of the way into our process, we did a work group. And we
Well, we had to-
rearranged this thing so it was easier to read and follow.
That was the point of keeping the original numbers, so that
Right.
everybody knows what they are looking at.
Where they
If
came from.
If they need to compare it to something, they can, but more to the point that they understand that all of the numbers are there, so they know.
But I thought we determined it'd be a nightmare to try to put
We-
the two side by
My-
side.
that can't be
Yeah,
done.
I was proposing that we had the charter we did and the charter that existed and have some kind of intermediate document, and we abandoned that when Kate said to us, we're better off putting all the language in the charter we want to go before town committee. Town meeting, because if they decide not to take out, let's say, the section about the Department of Public Works, it's physically there, all we have to do is change it from red line, strike out to black. That way we don't have to go put it back in. It just starts to become, and so this document is what it would look like if you took out all the blue, all the red. That's the document, and it would be simple to do that, to go through and just change everything, so.
No, I'm with you. So again, I'm sorry.
So we have, on the front page here, which I think is great. Am I right in assuming that this page will be what, if it's like this?
We may take that page affects the charter. We may take that page and make that front page a separate document. Because right now it creates some craziness with the document from page numbering standpoint. The way Word does page numbering, so we'll figure it out.
Doesn't,
So
not according to this, page one is the first page. of-
I understand, but
It'll be fine.
It'll be fine. We'll figure it out.
So I wondered if we would put David beside David Golden and Robert Zapparelli's name. Resigned, chair,
Retired.
or retired, however you put it, that
Well, he
at a
resigned.
certain point, because when people like even now, not to mention at times down the road, historians looking at this, they wonder why there's so many names here. It's more than 9.
Yeah. We could do
That
that.
should be
And-
11.
There are, but the thing is, David Golden and Robert Zapparelli are now resigned. And former chair and former clerk.
Maybe we can put a notation,
No, we'll figure something out.
Yeah, talk about that.
but I think the name should appear, because I think both
Oh,
of
I
them made
agree
it
with keeping it.
at least
I
three
am.
quarters of the way through. And both instrumental in what we have in front of us today. But you're right, you could put, or you could just do this, it's not, X is not the right word, but, previous chair and previous clerk, that was.
Yeah, we can figure something out.
Yeah.
Maybe just put the dates that they, from what date that they
Oh,
participated.
Yeah.
Or you can just leave it alone unless they have any objection to what, they,
Yeah.
no one left with any objections, so.
No.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm guessing David Golden is a fan, and Mrs. Zuperoli, I think would,
Oh, I would leave their names there, right?
yeah, I think you gotta leave their names. But if somebody has an idea on, in the next 12 hours, what we should do, we can do it.
So, so the document's gonna be final tomorrow.
Yeah.
Final edits.
Yeah.
And then you said hard copies for town meeting members, do we
I
know
have
when?
nothing to do with that.
You have nothing to do with
When the
it?
books go out, that's,
Oh, okay, so it's not gonna, it'll be in the book, obviously, but it's not gonna be a separate document.
not that I'm aware of. Michelle, is that? is
They
that
will be,
your-
they'll have two mailings. They'll have an email with the documents electronically. They will get hard copies also.
And they'll get the book.
Yes, they'll get a hard copy of the charter. Yes, a red line copy will be
As part of the book.
as, I don't, sometimes it's not part of the book. Sometimes it's an attachment. I'm not sure how it's being copied, but there will be a hard copy presented to every town meeting member with a mailed packet to them.
Okay,
Okay, so, Michelle, this is a detail, I guess, because the finance committee report comes out 2 weeks before town meeting. That would be the middle of the first week of October. My precinct 15 is gonna be meeting the week before that.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they're gonna probably want at least a week to look at it before we have a precinct caucus. So I'm
Yeah,
gonna have to look
Mike, we've been instructed by A&F to get them the document by 11 a.m. tomorrow is our deadline.
Okay. All right,
And
but to your point, Mike, anybody that's having an early caucus is probably gonna have to download it.
well,
off
they get,
the,
yeah, they have to get it off the website,
Yeah.
unless they get a hard copy
Oh,
and mail
yeah.
ahead of time
When will the
Or-
town meeting members get it?
on the
The hard-
website.
I don't know
hard
the,
copy.
don't know the mailing date, but we have to have it to them by tomorrow.
Okay,
When will it be available online?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow,
Oh, tomorrow.
tomorrow. You guys gotta let me go home so I can work on it.
All right, I think, there's nothing further on the agenda. Is everyone happy with new and old business?
Yeah.
Okay, then if that's the case, is there a motion to adjourn? Motion to adjourn? Second, doesn't need to be seconded. All in favor? Thank you very much.